Happy 2024, everybody. This is Mayor Joe coming to you from the first 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe of the year. And joining me today is Street Superintendent Keith Kundtz. Keith, thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I know you're thrilled to be here. I can imagine it. I know you've got a bunch of people waiting and watching probably
Second
right
appearance.
now.
I did not let them know, so.
So no random questions coming today?
I don't think so, but you know how rumors spread around the city.
Well, I know when originally we kind of set this up, I was talking about this will be kind of like the snow edition, not knowing what the weather was going to be like. And depending on what the weather's saying for this weekend, it's either going to snow 5 inches or it's going to be rain. So we're covering all of our bases to kick off the new year. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the position of Street Superintendent. What does that mean and what are your typical functions?
Well, I guess to start with, I oversee the street department, stormwater department, and our mechanics. That all consists of 12 employees, and obviously each department has, does a variety of different things. I started to write down everything, that we actually do, but, and not to bore everybody, but it is something to look at our annual report, look at that and see the numbers of.
You'd be the first person to look at our annual report.
Fine, I go over the numbers, but no, the thousands of street lights and thousands of street signs that we maintain, how many road miles that we do, EPA permits and annual reports and all that fun stuff. So along with all that, and the budgets and the daily operations, overseeing everybody.
So basically, when something breaks, that's usually that call's going to go out. So. It's an important job, and you guys have a great crew all the way around that does a lot of work. That people probably just don't really, it's like an unassumed thing. People don't really realize all the different things that the street department does. And no, Main Street was not the street department's responsibility. So I'm just throwing that out there for you.
I prefer not those phone calls.
Yep, no, those, thankfully they're no more because it's done.
Yes.
So now, like I mentioned, winter weather could be here this weekend. So let's pretend for a minute that it is actually going to happen. So let's say, Thursday, Friday, what are you guys doing? How are you going to prep and figure out, assuming the weather is going to be here, that's going to be pretty bad?
So let's say our typical routine throughout the week as we see the snow's coming, we'll obviously check out the trucks, get them ready to go, make sure all fluids are topped off, fuel, everything else. Typically, we'll load them up if it's going to happen on the weekend or at night, and we know that snow's coming. We'll go ahead and load them up with salt, so that way we're ready to go out the door when we get the call. A lot of times, the police department calls us. Obviously, they're on the road 24/7. They know best when the roads are getting slick, or also, we're around and we'll make the call too. When the snow starts sticking to the ground, we have a regular 9-truck crew that salts. Probably more than 90% of the time, we salt the entire city, every single road. A lot of people say that we don't, but we're going by so fast in the middle of the night that they're not seeing us. So most of the time, obviously our Ohio weather hasn't been horrible lately that we have to plow so much. When we do salt the entire city, we can typically get it done less than 3 hours. Plowing wise, and as the snow's going, if it starts accumulating that the salt's not taking care of it, or when we finally make the call to get and plow, we call in other departments and bring out extra trucks. But then once the storm stops, that's when we really like to start plowing the neighborhoods. If not, you got to redo them twice.
Yeah.
And typical once we really start plowing, you're looking at 10 to 12 hours to plow the entire city. So we prefer not to go that route.
Yeah.
But we take great pride in the job that we do and have done. So
yes, usually it's one of the few time I don't really get a lot of complaints, even on social media. I know there's one picture out there that's absolutely hilarious where it's heading westbound on Main Street, and then all of a sudden you get to a point where you can literally see where our city ends and then the city of Columbus begins, because you can see where the snow is just there where ours is clear. Now, there are going to be a couple of changes this year as far as policies for snow removal, and a couple of different things coming up. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
So yes, I've been asked to revisit, how our policy's written. I guess, writing a policy, I hate to put any exact number to anything because you have so many variables, again, of, how much snowfall, the air temperatures, ground temperatures, what the temperature is going to do. So I was looking at a lot of other cities, just stated as priority wise. So yes, we are going to be revisiting that. And the one big thing on that, I was looking also that there's a few of our secondary roads. I know Haft is one of them, in particular, like Rose Hill Road, and several others that we have a snow emergency policy of no parking. It says, anytime that it exceeds 2 inches, it'd be great, even in the residential areas, that regardless when they're calling for snow, if
Just
people
get the cars
if
off
you
the-
get them off the road, that helps us so much, even whether we're just salting or not, that we can just get our job done and clear the roads as quick as possible.
It's a little easier, so instead of having to maneuver and around and then back into everything. So,
yeah.
I know one of the things we talked about is, in the past, some cities have that 4-inch kind of guarantee that anything 4 inches and above is when they start doing residentials. And, you're right. It depends on, 2 inches is one thing. If you make that kind of like, that's kind of what we're looking at. But there's a difference between 2 inches. Is that something where you can just treat it with salt as opposed to plow, or is it something where you're going to have to plow, things like that? But it's going to be a little bit different this time around.
Yeah.
And eventually, one of the cool things that will happen is, and it's not going to be a live thing, but it's going to be this GPS system where some routes are going to be in there. But for the kids who are going to be really enthusiastic, if they ever get a snow day, they could, in theory, take a look at some of the plows and see them as they've gone through the streets after the fact to say, hey, there's like if you're Taylor Road Elementary or Rose Hill and you have, and I know one of the questions I'll talk about is the paint the plow, but you can actually see where some of those plows are going and things like that, which is actually going to be kind of a cool little thing.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we're getting it going. Shouldn't be too much longer. It's the system's not hard to put in the vehicles, so just as soon as we get all the funds figured out and get it up and going.
Yeah,
should be great.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, the paint the plow thing was kind of fun. I know it's a different thing. It's trying to get all of these different schools together, and then imagine trying to get everybody to agree on what a design for the plow looks like, and then how do you get the paint, all that other stuff. So tell us a little bit about the paint the plow and like how that all kind of came together, and hopefully we'll see some pictures on social media of a couple of things in the next couple of days.
Yes, I wasn't sure whether Jennifer had gotten those posted is that on
coming.
the website?
It's coming.
Oh, it's all coming. Okay. So this year we had 5 elementary schools that participated in it, and we dropped off plows, and they painted them up as they saw fit with a little bit of approval. Not that it's a competition, but I think they're all starting to up their game a little bit on it. This is the second time that we've done it. So it seemed to be going well, and then with the future of the GPS tracking and all that, it should be fun for them all. Along with the GPS, Columbus has their Snow Warriors. They call it Warrior Watch.
Yeah.
Dublin was Snow Go or Plow Go or something like that. So maybe that was another good thing that you could throw out there for the schools or residents to
Come up with
a name for our system.
There we go. I'm sure there's some creative ideas already stirring out in the audience members. So outside of the snow removal and all of that, so are there any, every year there's always something that's kind of like a focus area. In the past we've, painted street lights up on Main Street, that type of thing. Is there anything specific this year that you guys are looking to kind of focus on as a street department this year, other than the service building, which, that's a whole other entity?
Service building, your Wagner Road project, big projects. Street department wise, a lot of it, is just maintaining. We have it in budget again to do some more street lights. So I think we've got most of them done on the main road. So hopefully get out into the neighborhoods a little bit more, get that all taken care of, and kind of continue as business as usual. We're kind of behind the scenes and maintaining compared to doing actual projects.
Yeah, and that's fine. But you get, again, sometimes, like I said, you do a great job. I very rarely do I have complaints from anybody complaining about the quote unquote the street department, things like that. So
I appreciate it.
Do we have any comments, questions, anything from anybody?
We did get a question. It wants to know about the service app progressing, and I got an email yesterday on next Tuesday. We're going to get a final update as to when that app will go live.
All right, so next Tuesday. So at the show next week, you'll find out when that's the what we're calling it. What did we decide upon? The
Reynoldsburg Connects, and then we'll e-updates with it. I'm trying to figure out what
Is that the name of it?
I can't remember what we were. I can't remember.
All right, so can't remember. So it's the first of the year. We're still struggling a little bit. But basically, this is that C-Click Fix app where you can kind of go in and do the code enforcement thing. So like I said, next Tuesday, that'll be good. So next Wednesday, we'll have a definitive answer for that one. But that's a good question because I knew that one was coming because if not, I was going to say something about that at some point. Yep. I know you've got a lot of things to go to take care of. You're more than welcome to stay here the rest of the time, find out about all the other fun things going on. So next thing really for us is, like I said, you're more than welcome to go. If you want to get out of here, I don't blame you at all.
I'll step aside. Let me get out of the spotlight
There
here.
you go.
I appreciate the time, though.
You're just waiting to see, make sure nobody at the street department sends in that last question or something like
Get
that.
out before the questions come.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so as I said, the next big thing that's coming up is Reynoldsburg City Schools has their organizational meeting. So if a board meeting wasn't exciting enough, now it's just about organizing for an actual board meeting. This is going to be tomorrow at the central office right next to here at City Hall. It's going to be at 4:30. This is where they're going to pick the president and the vice president. They're going to establish the dates for the board meetings and probably give you the locations because I know the schools have been kind of hosting board meetings the last couple of months. So that's something that's going on. And again, you never know what else could happen. But again, typically those are relatively, I don't want to call them boring, but let's say they're very formula related. You get a little bit of who's going to be in what particular positions and then authorizations for all the fun things like spending money and things of that nature. But that's tomorrow at 4:30. It is open to the public if you want to go and see. And then we'll go from there. Some road updates. As Keith mentioned, Wagner Road is going to be the big function that's coming up. So we did get the bid out. It is going through the process right now. So it'll hopefully get confirmed here by council in the next couple of weeks. And then that project will get started. I know we've already met with some members that own property along the line, some residents, and we've had some people sign off on things, and we're moving forward with that. So we're probably looking at, let's say, March, April-ish, depending on weather and some other conditions before that stuff gets started. But once we have, once the bid becomes official and accepted by City Council, we'll start establishing some things and maybe have some town hall meetings and some other conversations about that. So we've got that going on. This weekend, Saturday on the 6th, starts the Women's Defense class for the Reynoldsburg Police Department. It'll be the 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., so it's going to be a lot of fun. If you want to figure and participate in that, anyone from the age of 12 and older, some women can go ahead and participate in that. It's classwork activities, but then also towards the end of the last couple of classes, you get to throw some people around, so that's always a good thing. Did get a couple of questions that I wanted to kind of go over. There was an incident on Broad Street a couple weeks ago. You may have seen it online where there was a video of a gentleman who was enthusiastically dancing around and looked like what it appeared to be some sort of an automatic or semi-automatic weapon that he was kind of pointing out there. The individual was arrested. It was the city of Columbus's jurisdiction. And all things actually, it was not even called into Reynoldsburg, so it went to Columbus, but the individual was arrested and detained safely and peacefully. But I wanted to kind of go through the process with it. And again, I am not a lawyer. I do not pretend to be a lawyer. But typically in cases like that, the gun is going to go away for a very long time. So the person's not going to get handed that gun right away. So they're going to go through the process, whether there were some issues, if there was anything to do with a mental health issue that was contributing to that, or if it was otherwise, may determine how the court system works. But for the most part, the people are not getting the gun back in there. But again, it's time to make those phone calls if you see things like that. So speaking of people making phone calls, as we all know, New Year's Eve was Reynoldsburg's favorite party, along with every other community in Central Ohio, of gunshots or fireworks. I never will understand what the appeal is of sending bullets up into the air because, as we all know, what comes up must come down. Fireworks are a whole other conversation. So I asked just to get some information from our police department. In 2022, we actually got 9 reported phone calls of gunfire in the city of Reynoldsburg. This past New Year's Eve, basically between the hours of, let's say, 10 p.m. and 2 o'clock in the morning, we actually only got 4 calls. So for people that kept saying that we hear guns, one of 2 things is happening. Either 1, they are fireworks, or 2, people just aren't calling and reporting it in. But if that is the case, again, be out there. Because RPD did go out and investigate and things of that nature. So there were significantly fewer calls for gunfire this year than there were in the past, which is a good thing. Not still really sure if somebody wants to say why they think that firing guns off at New Year's Eve is a good thing. Please feel free to drop a comment in there. I'm sure RPD would be interested just as much as I would be. All right, so with that, we'll move on to a couple other programs. Obviously, the first of the year kicks off with Parks and Rec. So there's a ton of things that are up now for the spring sports. You've got baseball, softball, t-ball, soccer, and all the superhero versions of it. Plus, we're going to have all of those other activities that are not sports related. So check out the Heirloom. You should have gotten it in the mail, and if you didn't, you can always check it out online. Take a look at those types of things. Any questions so far?
Any indication on how long construction work will be on Wagner Road?
I'm going to say no less than 3 years. So it's going to start, and again, different phases and different parts of it. Phase 1 is going to be from Main Street to Priestley. That'll probably be about 18 to 22 months. And then once that gets a little bit to, let's say, maybe about a year from now, then that's when that phase 2 will be in the planning preparations, and then you're looking at about the same thing all the rest of the way. But yeah, it's going to be about 3 years total, if not more so, to just make sure everything is finished up all the way.
Next question, it says, you are going to address the intersection of Palmer and Graham Road and report back about our concerns with turning left off of Palmer onto Graham. This was probably about a year ago. Any feedback or any updates?
There's been no, outside of one accident that was a self-inflicted accident. A gentleman was driving his car and got his leg connected into the steering wheel, and it turned into the gate right in there. But we've received no additional complaints, no other concerns, and no other accidents from that particular area. So at this time, I don't believe that there'll be any changes to that.
That's it for right now.
All right. I do have a little bit of development news. There is going to be, and this is kind of a bittersweet thing for me. We all know that one of my favorite holidays is Halloween, and we always have that Halloween store at the former Babies R Us location on 256. Well, they found a permanent tenant, so we're going to have to figure out where all the Halloween stuff is going to come for next year. I think probably right now my wife is smiling, probably a little bit happy that that's going on. But I'm sure there'll be another Halloween store somewhere. What's going in its location right now, the best we've been told as of right now is that it is going to be a furniture store. So it's going to be a furniture store that anything from couches to dining room tables to bedroom outfits, things of that nature. Probably going to be a couple of months before we know exactly what's going in there. And then I believe they're going to be doing some retrofitting and some things on the interior of everything. Another cool event that's coming up, this is our first event of the year for the city of Reynoldsburg. It is our second annual Martin Luther King Breakfast. It's going to be held at the Reynoldsburg Community Church on Saturday, January 13th. The official programming and everything will start about 8:30 and it'll last till 11 o'clock. But it's going to be a great breakfast. There's going to be some performers. There's going to be some scholarship awards handed out and things of that nature in partnership with the Reynoldsburg City School District, as well as the Reynoldsburg Education Foundation. And if you are interested in going, go ahead and find us on social media. You'll be able to see in there. There is limited capacity for it, so it's kind of a first come, first serve. So if you are interested, go ahead and check that out. But we're really looking forward to that. And next week, our guest will talk a lot more about it because this is kind of her inspiration things, but I'll get to that in just a minute. We also have, we're looking for the supporters for the litter cleanup program for 2024. So if you or an organization would like to participate and clean up part of the community, a certain section of town, a road, things of that nature, please let us know. Got a couple that have kind of repeat from year to year, but we'd always like to expand that out to some other ones. We also are continuing to progress and move for the Celebrate USA 2050. So I know it's a couple of years away, but there's a lot of things going on. We had the kind of a little scene play out for the Boston Tea Party at the last city council meeting. So we've got that going on. But if you're interested in it, please go ahead and reach out to my assistant Jessica, who's going to kind of lead things up here in the city. So she's enthusiastic about that. So we're looking forward to that. And the other thing that I did see on social media that I did want to talk about are the benches. If you've been driving down in Main Street, kind of right by Ohio Select and on the other side of the street by one of the hair salons, there are benches that are put in place there that are, in essence, they're almost like seats. So it's a bench, but they have little divots in them for seats all the way across. Those are COTA benches. Those aren't the city benches. A lot of times, benches like that are put in place because it's trying to dissuade anybody who might be from the homeless community from actually laying on those benches on a regular basis. And I understand why people think that that's a good thing. However, I have a meeting set up with COTA later this week, and I'm going to talk to them about that because that's not something I'm interested in. I don't believe hiding homelessness is the best way to deal with the issue. Right now, give or take, we have between 20 and 30 identified homeless individuals in the city of Reynoldsburg. And statistics show that if we know and have identified a certain number, then you're looking at times 3 that of people actually living without a home in the city of Reynoldsburg. So that could be anywhere from, again, you're looking from 60 to 90 people that are actually homeless right now in the city of Reynoldsburg. And the last thing that it needs to do is to try and find a way to hide them from somebody else, because I think a lot of times it might make some people feel better about themselves that they don't have to deal with the homeless situation. But the reality is, with the housing crisis that we're all experiencing, the amount of rent that is out there, the cost of living in general is very high. Hiding this is not the best answer. So we're going to find ways to kind of work to make sure that those benches are not specifically like that. That's my call. I don't believe in it. It is not a situation that homelessness is something that the city of Reynoldsburg alone can face. This is a region-wide, a statewide issue. So we're going to continue to find ways to work with different people. But my best advice, and this is from experts who have told me, they say it is a lot harder when someone is homeless to get them back into a home, but it is a lot easier for those people that might be struggling financially, that might have issues staying in a home or an apartment. There are programs out there that will find ways to make sure that you can stay housed, and that's where the thing needs to be. I know that a lot of time pride gets in the way, and we want to take care of our families, and we want to make sure that we don't have to lose our home or lose our apartment and things of that nature. But the reality is we want to make sure that people have a place to stay, especially in wintry conditions and things like that. So if those are things that you know of that are concerns to you, or if you know someone out there that is facing those kind of situations, please have them come and refer to us here at the city. We can connect them with our social workers, and they will be able to help provide some options for them to find some of those resources to make sure that they stay housed. But that's my philosophy, and that's where we're going moving forward for the next foreseeable future. So with that, next week is our next guest. It is Ward 1 City Councilwoman Shanette Strickland, who is going to talk all about the Martin Luther King breakfast. This is kind of her inspiration. She wanted to get this done, but then this thing called COVID happened in the first year, and that became something else. So we wanted to make sure that we get this set. It was a great experience last year. It was incredibly well attended. The breakfast was amazing for everyone. And so now we're going to go ahead and double that up again this year. So if you are interested, check that out. If you want to know more about it, make sure you tune in next Wednesday at 12 o'clock here with Councilwoman Shanette Strickland. She and I spent some time talking about it yesterday, and we're really excited, not just because of the breakfast, but mostly for me because of the breakfast. But it's an opportunity to honor Martin Luther King's legacy and what we can do to kind of move that issue forward all the way throughout. Any other questions, comments?
No.
All right, again, Happy New Year, everybody. It's going to be a great 2024. Obviously, Wagner Road is going to be a huge thing. We've got a service building that we're working on, plus all the other things going on with development that we'll see. But the best place to get all the most accurate information is right here on the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe. As much as everybody says they have a friend who's got a friend whose cousin works at City Hall who knows what's really going on, best place to find out that information is me. I'm out on social media all the time. So Happy New Year again, everybody, and we will see you soon. Stay safe, stay respectful, and as always, put your shopping carts away. Bye now.